Welcome to Black Spring. Now, by now, I'm sure you're curious about the title of this segment of Black Spring with Autumn, but not to worry. I'll be happy to bring you this event. Now, some of the events may sound familiar, some of the sentiment might sound eerily familiar, but I'd like to thank everybody for joining me on this segment of Black Spring with Autumn.
Be put together pretty quickly.
We are not out of money yet. But the fact is, we are trending in a dangerous direction and something needs to change.
So the policy question for this board now is how should financial resources be prioritized? Are there nodes that we cannot allow to fail? What is your sense of priorities? We don't have money to pay for all of these urgent problems.
So at the moment, we want the fund, right? You need the money. So where's the money? So government kind of supplies some money. A lot of, private sectors, some are sitting here, you have some money, but now you need a really coordinated, centralized efforts.
Hotels will be experiencing, crippling losses doing that. And we know that the hotel business in itself makes up 5% of the GDP.
Governments need to be willing to do things that are out of their historical perspective, or for the most part, it's really a war footing that we need to be on.
We shouldn't underestimate the power of entrepreneurship. We need to escalate that, whether it's through the government's helping with tax breaks or subsidies of that nature to increase manufacturing of those types of products. It can happen quickly. A Marshall type plan, don't mean to say that exactly, but a Marshall plan that can go into effect can stimulate change very quickly.
Countries are reacting in different ways as to how best to manage the overwhelming amounts of dis and misinformation circulating over the internet. In some cases, limited internet shutdowns are being implemented to quell panic.
How much control of information should there be, and by whom? And how can false information be effectively challenged? And what if that false information is coming from companies or from governments?
I think it's very important that we make sure that there is concise communication with all healthcare facilities where these patients are being treated so that there isn't mass panic.
We're at a moment where the social media platforms have to step forward and recognize the moment to assert that they're a technology platform and not a broadcaster is over. They, in fact, have to be a participant in broadcasting accurate information and partnering with the scientific and health communities to counterweight, if not flood the zone of accurate information, because to put the genie back in the bottle of the misinformation and disinformation is nigh impossible.
One thing we haven't spoken about, and I'm wondering whether it's time to talk about this, is a step up from the part of the governments on enforcement actions against fake news.
I personally
And once again, I'd like to thank everyone for joining me on this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. So by now you may be curious about the buzzwords or some of the tones that you heard in this, what they refer to as Event 201, a tabletop mock-up exercise that simulates a bit of real life or true to life scenarios today. But what did you notice specifically? Who was privy to such an exercise? One can't help but to think that any advance notice of such a scenario could have been life-saving. When you consider all of those affected, the economic decline globally and domestically, and most importantly, the government's response to such an event. Now, you also heard quite a few buzzwords, phrases beyond the war-like footing or the mobilization tone. You heard there a demand for social media to partner with a scientific enforcement of information and for social media to be a part of the health community. And you've even heard of a Marshall type plan, stimulate change. Sounds quite a bit like what I've referred to on here as the former technocracy or controlled opposition. So, as always, what do you think? I mean, where do we go from here? I mean, how is it that the bureaucracy and elite continue to pull the strings of a free people? Can we trust this level of covert emergency planning? Are we safe? And who's in control? And once again, I'd like to thank everybody for joining me on this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. Please let me know what you think in the comments. If you continue to hit the like button and continue to, or the down button, or dare to share. All of that helps with the channelytics. And also, please make sure you are still subscribed. And once again, I'd like to thank everyone for joining me on this segment of Black Spring with Autumn.